Hi again, everyone. Welcome to I always say it's a very special episode of Dead Men Talk, but this one is definitely one I've been looking forward to for a little while. It's one of those people who, again, I discovered their work, and it just makes me stop dead in my tracks and take note because what this person does is fantastic. Certainly got my attention straight away. Someone I reached out to, I didn't really think I'd get to the point of having her on the show, to be honest. But thankfully, she did respond, and here we are. So, singer songwriter all the way from Germany, Luna Keller. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. It's so great to be on this. I can't believe that you thought I would ignore you or something.
That's no reflection on yourself. It's kind of how this goes at some
No,
with some bits and
I
shows. So,
totally get it. I
but
have a podcast myself, and I know the dread of writing someone and being like, "Do they want to talk to me?"
that's it. But
So yeah.
no, I really appreciate you coming on. There's quite a bit I want to talk to you about. Really just kind of delving into your work, how it began, and things. So, I mean, kick off with a quick introduction. Really, just I'll let you do this. So, for anyone who's not familiar at the moment, just sort of who are you? What do you do? I've said you're singer-songwriter, but just give us a flavour to kick off with.
I could go philosophical and be like, "Oh, who am I?" Big question.
I don't think there's time for that. So.
You said half an hour. No, the whole interview is just me philosophizing about the meaning of.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
No, I'm Luna Keller. I'm a Spanish-German singer-songwriter. So my family's German, but I grew up in Spain, in Tenerife, and yeah, I write songs, I make music, I play house shows, I tour, I have a radio show slash podcast. I stream on Twitch regularly. It's become a thing that I really, really enjoy. But I think primarily and at the core of everything that I do is wanting to create things and to connect through those things with myself and other people. So I'm really just a person that makes things and likes talking to other people and making things with other people. So
Yeah, and living the dream, really. I mean, living my dream, I would say. That's exactly the kind of thing that I would like to see myself doing one of these days, especially around the music front. I think one of my earliest dreams, really, before, I mean, I've gone through them all. I want to be a professional wrestler at some point, but that would never happen. Going right back to when I was like
that's
four
kind of
years
cool,
old.
though.
Yeah, well, yeah, depends what you think about it. I wanted to be, I wanted to be a rock star. I was a big sort of, 50s, 60s rock fan, even from a very young
Mm.
age. So getting to talk to someone like yourself, it kind of, almost inspires me a bit more. It's like, okay, what is it what is it that stopped me kind of doing this? I
You
mean,
know
there's a lot of reasons, but
what's funny to me? I never really wanted to be a rock star
okay.
or famous for that matter, which I don't think I am. I have a fan base that appreciates my music, and I'm the luckiest person alive. But I just want to make a living of the thing that I love,
Sure.
which I am doing, and that makes me like one of the luckiest people on planet Earth. But I never thought, and of course, if it happens, I'm not going to be like, oh no,
I never mind
terrible.
that. You can keep
Although
that.
I think
No.
they're definitely downsides. But like my goal was never to be a rock star, to be famous. My goal was always just, this is something that I love doing, and if I can do it full time, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And that is very grounding, and it helps because it makes things less disappointing, I think, because you're not
That's
always
good.
looking at this goal that you don't know if you'll ever achieve. Instead, you're just looking at what am I making right now,
Yeah.
and just appreciating that,
I
which
like that.
yeah, is very
That's that's
fulfilling.
that's very cool. That's a very, very cool way of looking at it. And I'm sure that in itself will be inspiration to others like yourself out there who may, we all have this kind of imposter syndrome. I think at some point that we don't really, why are we doing what we're doing? No one's
Mm,
really that interested. But lo and behold, you're here because through the beauty of digital music now, I discovered your
yeah.
your music out of nothing. Where did it, just to kind of wind it back for a second, where did it start for you then? Singer songwriter, and that, if it wasn't something you wanted to do necessarily, or until a certain point, what made you want to do it?
Hmm. I always thought that when I was 14, I picked up the guitar and was like, songwriting is a thing? I love this. Until I looked for some old boxes recently and found songs that I wrote with my dad when I was like 9,
Wow.
where he wrote lyrics and played guitar to it. And I realized that I just didn't realize that it's always been a part of me, but it has been. Like, it's just something I've always been doing, writing and using words and music to express myself. Luckily, I grew up with musical parents, even though it's not like their main job. They were always making music together. And I started singing in the choir when I was 8 with my mom, which was really good further along the line as like having vocal technique and being able to do harmonies, which I really enjoy. But yeah, I tried through several instruments. I tried through sports that I loved. I did a lot of different things. I thought I wanted to do astrophysics at some point.
Oh, wow.
And then I realized how much math it entails and changed my mind.
That's when numbers start to disappear, isn't it? I've done a thing like that before.
I like the theories and like the concepts. And a friend of mine who is actually studying maths, and is one of my closest friends, he actually wrote "I Don't Know Where I'm Going" with me, one of my songs from the LSEP. And he always says, yeah, I'm the scientist, you're the philosopher. And that's true. I really love the concept of things, but I don't think I would be very good at crunching the numbers. With that being said, I had all these different things. I did theater for a while, and it was like, oh, maybe this is the thing. We're talking about teenager years, so it's like things happening besides school. But then when I was 14, after trying several instruments and not having the patience to learn them, like I had picked them up, I discovered the thing that really lit the spark for me, which was writing songs on those instruments. Okay. So the moment that I picked up the guitar again and my dad taught me how to play minor, I wrote a song called I Can Play Minor, which is still a running joke to this day. And it just felt immediately like this language that I really want to learn how to speak. And over time, it just became this very natural thing. I don't really write songs for release. I just write songs for myself, and then I go back and select the best ones. Okay. So I never write with the pressure that I'm making something that the world is definitely going to hear. I just write out the necessity to create, and then I can see afterwards, oh, I created a thing that I actually want to share. And that's just very joyful to me. And they just got to a point where I was like, may I dare make this my thing, like, because this fulfills me. This is something that I can do and I'm good at and I love doing. And when I finished school when I was 18, I did 2 years like arts oriented before university. I had really good grades. I could have gone to like any university, but I asked my parents, I was like, hey, can I take a gap year, try to make this music thing, like the thing that I live from? They were like, sure. And that gap year has been like 3 or 4 years long now, and I'm just making it, and it's just been really fun. So that's kind of
that's brilliant. So I mean, you had to take that leap of faith, and it's fantastic if you've got people around you that can support that, because I've seen, only too often, I think, where you can have dreams to do this kind of thing, but then someone's always in the background. Yes, play devil's advocate, I suppose, keep you grounded, but don't trample over them, otherwise you almost miss that, and you kind of end up thinking, oh, it's not worth me trying to do that.
Absolutely. And I always say I'm incredibly blessed that I had that, because I found the thing that fulfills me the most in a household with a studio where I could immediately start recording things with parents that are supportive. Who gets that? I kind of won the lottery. Yeah. I feel very privileged in that way, and grateful that I get that start. And of course I had people, like I had some teachers, especially because I was such a good student, that were like, what? Music? You could be a lawyer, you could be a doctor, get a real job.
Yeah, in the evenings,
But because I had that encouragement from home and really that support, and my parents really been like that rock of like, do what fulfills you. We're going to be here, and no matter what happens, we're a safety net. If it doesn't work out, you can do something else. The world doesn't end. It just gave me that confidence to just throw myself at it, and that's been really, really wonderful. On the flip side, speaking of imposter syndrome, that also had the side thing for me personally, that it took me a lot of time to recognize my own talent and work. So I would always feel like, okay, this is a cool thing, but I only have this because I had this start, or because I have the support, or because I have these people that I'm working with. And I didn't really give myself credit, and it took me a long time. I think only kind of in the last year where I was like, I'm doing cool things. I'm allowed to feel proud of these. I still have imposter syndrome sometimes.
I think we all do, don't we, in something, especially if it's something you're creating yourself. I don't know too many people who always put their stuff out there, whether it's books, songs, or whatever, and think, they say, I'm proud of that. But they almost, exactly what you just said, they almost don't want to there's always got to be a case of that it could be better, or it's not like this, or whatever. Self-deprecating. I'm
Yeah,
still
I
really
think
not comfortable unless we're doing that.
it is scary to celebrate yourself.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it should be. I definitely think we should all stay level-headed, but I also know a lot of artists that get very caught up in that insecurity, and it actually makes them not pursue certain opportunities that would have been great, which I think there's always that balance to find, right? Keep your feet on the ground, but also keep your head high, and know that what you do has value, and that what you do is good. But it is scary, because I think it comes from that deep thing of, okay, but what if I am proud of this, but it's not enough for everyone else?
Yeah.
It's much easier to take if I'm saying, it's like, this little thing that I made and it's not that good, but I kind of want to share it with the world. And then if people are like, oh, it's amazing, you're like, oh, really? and you're safe, right? But if you go out there and you're like, here's a song that I made and it's the most beautiful thing that I think I've created and I'm really proud of it, and then you get people say, I don't like it. That's much more scary. So I think that's part of it, probably a fear of rejection that doesn't really allow us, that makes us reject ourselves ahead of time, just in case.
What do you think would be worse then? Interesting one is putting something out there and having negative feedback to it, or nothing at all.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it depends on the nature of the negative feedback, because if it's constructive, then I think it's better to have negative feedback than none at all. Because if I put out a song and people are like, hey, I listened to your song and I think this is weak, or this is not that good, or maybe you could change that or that, or I think you could, sing or work on your voice a bit, maybe like you're a bit flat here and there, then that is better than no feedback, because it gives me the tools to make the next song better. But I think if the negative feedback is just hate telling you that you suck, I don't really know if it's
not unnecessary, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Some people take the time to do that. I don't understand that.
Me neither. It's like, why?
So it sounds like there's a lot of music in your household, I would imagine, sort of growing up. Is there any sort of favorites, or anyone that has inspired or influenced your work when it came to it in particular?
I mean, like other artists, or just
other artists,
people
around you? Yeah, I mean, what's the greatest source of inspiration, really? I mean, that's a vast question.
It is very vast. I think there was I remember reading this quote, I think it was by Isaac Newton. It was something like, I travel on the shoulders of giants, to kind of express how what he discovered was only possible because of the work of many, many other people that were behind it. And I feel in the same way. There are loads of people that have inspired me, and I couldn't even list them all. And some of them inspire me subconsciously, and I'm like listening back to something, the intro of High Low, High Low is actually like a little bit, I think I've got inspired by Andrew Bird there, who I really love right now. He's a great artist. And but it's not, it's more like, oh yeah, I really like strings right now because I really like this album by this person. So that's why suddenly there are more strings in my songs.
I see.
And things like that. So I think there's a lot of that. I mean, my parents will always be, I think, that one big inspiration, just seeing their love for music and seeing what they create and the potential and power of connection. And yesterday they celebrated their 1 year Twitch stream anniversary. They've been making music on Twitch too now, and it's kind of brought them back to making more music again. It's just been so lovely to see.
That's
so
brilliant.
They're huge. Artistically, I can just say, I think one of the early artists that moved me when I was small, that showed me the power of what a song can do, is James Blunt. He has the song Shine On, and I got bullied in school, and that song just moved me and got me through so much, because just shine on, close your eyes and they'll all be gone. It's completely about something different, but I only got that. My English wasn't that good at the time. And that was like one of the first times where I was like, oh shit, music has a lot of power. So definitely grateful for him. I was a huge Coldplay fan for a really long time. They've hugely inspired me as well. But most recently, honestly, it's been a lot of independent artists. Like, I've connected and worked with people that are incredible: Thomas Levine, Dominic Romano, Don Mallon, Alison Leah. I could just keep telling you names and you should check them all out because they're so good. Ben Greenberg, Kaldenberg. I've just so many incredible people.
I will say Don Mallon I discovered through you. actually. So I totally got what you're saying. I discovered you through another musical duo that I interviewed local to me, and I interviewed them earlier in the year for the show. And your song, one of your songs, I happened to be listening to one of the playlists, you know, these kind of radio playlists that come up on, you know, you like so and so, you'll love these. Your song, Two Chord Song, came onto that playlist, and that was one I was working, and this has happened a few times where a song comes on and was like, right, I'm going to stop because this has my attention. And there's something about, and I can't articulate it really, and I'm not sort of technically musically minded in that. I'm not going to try and break it down and sort of say what captured me in that, but there's something about that song that just really strikes me. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Chilling. It's I think the melody, the words in particular, I do fall for lyricists. You know, again, being a writer myself, I love storytelling and things in lyrics, and I think there's some lines in that which I want to kind of delve into that song in particular to begin with. So, firstly, what is the inspiration behind Two Chord Song? Let's start there.
So, Two Chord Song was one of the first love songs that I wrote for my boyfriend, and I don't write a lot of love songs. I think it's just very hard to write a non-cheesy love song.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to write something a little unconventional. I guess everyone, like, looking back, we were definitely just as cheesy as any other couple. But at the time, you know, we're like 16 and we're like, oh, we're kind of cool. And
Yeah.
so I was like, we're different. So I wanted to write a song that encapsulated that sort of whimsical and I guess a little geeky, a little different part of our relationship. And I remember when I finished writing it, I visited my boyfriend, and he had this very out of tune electric guitar that he never played, but I brought him back into music, which has been really nice.
That's cool.
And I played him the song, and he really loved it. And around the time was when I was starting to conceptualize the EP Alice is in Love with the Mad Hatter, which was partially inspired by us both being big like Alice in Wonderland fans and loving those books and films, and just showing my Alice in Wonderland mug.
That's cool. It's like 3 cups of
so I think that was sort of the point where I felt like this whimsical idea of connecting the books and films and something that I love with an album when I wrote that song, and it just felt like it kind of created that idea. But yeah, it was originally just a love song with loads of little references and things to how I felt, and I still really enjoy playing it years later.
I cannot, you know, anyone who's watching, listening to this who hasn't heard it, go and find it. I'm going to stick it on I have a Dead Men Talk playlist on Spotify. I will add it on because all the musicians I've spoken to, I try to have something of theirs on there, and that one is definite for me. I mean, there's lines in there. I think I saw someone else comment on this. Dinosaurs are birds and birds are free. I was like, that is, I still can't go there. That is just genius, really. What was
thank you.
What was the thinking? I get. Let's break it down. Was there any kind of thinking behind that line itself? What you were trying to say?
Yeah. So my boyfriend used to want to be a paleontologist. He really loved dinosaurs. He had like the books and things, and I think I just felt like, oh, that would be like a little thing to put in there. And I remember I had recently seen that, you know, birds are like the closest to what dinosaurs used to be genetically. So I kind of loved the idea of taking something like free like a bird, which is like a more used saying, and making it a little bit quirky by adding that little personal thing of, you know, dinosaurs are birds and birds are free, like dinosaurs, but more alive. We could be, because I knew that he would enjoy that. And I enjoyed that a lot. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I think there is this art that we try to balance as songwriters and writers and anyone who creates, really, where you want to be personal, but at the same time leave people to enjoy things in a way because they're not too specific and they can still apply to them. And when I wrote that song, I felt like it is kind of specific, but people can make it their own in a different way, even though the origin is like very personal. For like the origin of the song for me, the line can mean something completely different for other people, which is really nice.
Yeah, and that kind of comes back to, I think, the meaning that you have behind that James Blunt song that you discovered. You know, there's plenty of them with me. I think what I love with music is everyone has their own take on it depending what their story is at that moment or up
Yes,
to them, whatever, you know. And there's another,
absolutely.
I think the again, not that I'm going to pick the song apart line by line, but one of the bits in there that I really does ring true for me is we can play this 2 chord song, simple isn't always wrong.
Mm,
That bit there, I think, yes, you've hit the nail on the head. Things that you think, to me anyway, this means things that you think you could simply kind of throw away because they're nothing special or anything like that actually are, could be the most special things to other people,
yeah,
you know. And it's sometimes you don't need to overcomplicate things, just keep it simple. And
absolutely.
yeah.
And I think it's part of what I also wanted to put in the song. It's
Mm,
like, we've never been really people of big gestures in our relationship. It's just kind of been the gesture is I'm here for you. The gesture
yeah,
is I thought of you and I bought this. Not on
yeah.
our anniversary, like that's just a date. We forget about that every single year. Both of us though, so it's fine.
That's all right, I'm not allowed to do that, so
So it's always just been, and I think it's something that I really love about my relationship with him. It's just we're very laid back, and we're just
mm,
kind of it's not very complicated. It's just, but we know that we're always there for each other, and we know how much we love each other. But we
yeah,
just express it in a way that is not, there's no pressure. It comes naturally, and it just made me really appreciate that through that relationship, but also in general with people. When you have people, when you have moments, when you have things that are small, it's the small things in life
mm,
as well that are so powerful, like taking that pressure off. And I struggled a bit with my mental health, and I realized the power of those small things, like
absolutely,
making my favorite cup of tea in the morning.
yeah,
And if I get the energy to do that and enjoy that, that can completely change how I feel. When I
absolutely.
go for the city, I might just stop by my favorite chocolate shop that is a little bit expensive and buy exactly one little chocolate
Yeah,
and eat it
yeah,
and feel like the world is incredible in this moment. And I've become a real, like, yeah, lover and appreciator of the small things. I think often they can bring us just as much joy as like the huge accomplishments or the huge
absolutely.
moments, which are great.
Yeah,
But I think from that line and originally where it came from, for me, it's also just kind of become a little bit of a philosophy. Also with creating, to be honest, because I think a lot of times as songwriters and maybe as writers, you also have that. It's
mm,
like, I need to use all these resources and metaphors and production things and
yeah,
complicated chords to make something that is like, and you realize that simple is not wrong. Like
no,
sometimes you can say it much better
mm,
using something that is far less complicated and just
yeah.
authentic. So yeah.
I'm going to ask you the obvious question. As you may see in the background, I do play a little myself.
Mm.
And what I love about discovering artists like yourself is you've all got songs that I would really love. And I've tried to sit down and play myself. Um, so I look at yours, okay, yeah, 2 chords. It should, in theory, be easy enough to figure out. Not really been able to get there yet. So what are those 2 chords exactly?
I actually don't know. I'm not
Love it.
the biggest. I'm actually working on that at the moment on getting better at like music theory. But the thing is, it's
Mhm.
like a capo in the fifth or sixth
Okay.
actually.
I,
So
I I live by my capo, so that's fine.
but it's a capo in the fifth or sixth, and the basic shapes would be A minor and F major seven. But I guess
I was
just
there. I was
transpose
there.
it up.
That's fine. Cool. No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's what I've been. That's what I've kind of landed with. I
Although,
think.
like, there is a complicated way to play like the little lick chord as well, but that's like
Okay.
the easiest way to play it. Because I originally wrote it with a different capo in a more complicated way, and then
Right.
simplified it later by moving it
I'll have
down a
to go
little
back
bit.
and have another look. But okay, I wasn't a million miles away. That's fine. I probably just got the capo just a bit too far up, so that's fine. Cool. Thank you for that.
No, of course, I
I
can
do
send
want to.
you. I can send you the exact capo and
Oh,
everything later.
that would be amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's brilliant. I said myself. I think it was last year, this time of year, running into Christmas. I had a list of songs that I was like, because I've been teaching myself for like 20 years, and I've just about got up the
Mhm.
courage to play around my house. I won't play outside. Um, and I had a list of songs I was like, I want to be able to play these off the top of my head. And a couple of them were artists that I was able to connect with through the podcast as well. And it's just the quality of music out there that not everyone knows is there. You know,
Mm.
is a crime sometimes, but it's fantastic when you do discover it. Um, Speaking of
Oh,
which,
yeah,
though,
thank you.
on recently you hit a bit of an achievement on Spotify, or one of your
Yes.
albums.
True, but before you go into that, I just quickly want to say I totally agree, which is why my podcast and show is actually called "Why Doesn't Everyone Know These Songs?" and only features indie artists. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
100% on board.
There you go. No, that's brilliant. Yeah, and I think with the beauty of things like Spotify, we're able to discover that a lot easier now. You know, anyone can say what they want about
Yes,
how the digital world is ruined, sort of things for singer-songwriters. I think it's a
absolutely.
great thing, you know, that you're
Yeah,
able to do.
it's harder to stick out from the noise, but there is a means and a platform for you to reach people
Yeah,
directly, which
yeah,
wasn't always that way. And there are so many insanely talented people. Like I listen to my, like, now I even have some really good friends and I just listen to their new releases, like Don Mallon, who we like mentioned recently, or they'll send them to me ahead of time and I'll just sit there like weeping. Like, oh my god,
yeah,
this is so good. Are you aware of the fact that you made this? Like, oh my,
yeah.
So yeah, just a huge fan of the incredible indie artists out there right now. I think they're making the most interesting and beautiful and authentic music that you can find, and
Absolutely,
it's really worth to dive into that world,
absolutely.
for
Same
sure.
here. So let's give you a big up now then. So um forgive me. I'll let you introduce it actually. So what was the what milestone am I talking about? I know it was a million streams on
Yes, so my debut album, Prophecies and Silver Linings, it hit 1 million streams total on Spotify, which is wild.
well, it is. I mean, again, as an independent artist, and that you didn't set out to you know, fame, fortune, and all that, but that's an incredible achievement.
Yeah, and you know, of course, there's like fame, fortune. I think in this world now, like numbers and stuff become quite big in our heads. I
Yeah.
try to not check too much on them, but I must say that I definitely did a little happy dance there because
Absolutely.
just knowing that so many people chose to have my music, you know, as part of their life
Yeah.
and connected through it. And that's something like I like numbers make me happy, but something that moves me just as much as sometimes I will get an email or a message from someone and they will be like, hey, I went through this tough time and this song helped me through it.
Yeah.
And that, like, I'll just sit there in front of the computer and do a little happy cry for like, because I'm just
Yeah.
like, wow, what an honor that my music gets to be that for other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the achievement of 1 million streams feels so big, because it's just hard to wrap my mind around that my songs have been a part of so many stories. As we said earlier, you know, different contexts, different stories, different things. Like I have a friend who is diabetic and he says high low is his blood sugar anthem. And it's just, I love that, how people can put different kind of meanings onto songs, and just knowing that they become part of so many stories.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I'm really grateful and humbled and
And
for that.
it's not like you set out to do that, and you know, it's just one of those wonderfully organic things that has happened because someone was in the right place, right time, and so was your music. You know, so
Yeah, exactly. You can't really make it, like you can't orchestrate someone clicking with your music. The only
no,
thing you can do is make it and promote it as best as you can, so it
absolutely.
hopefully reaches the right people and
Yeah,
connects with the right people.
yeah,
Which, yeah, it's
which
been,
it's doing.
yeah, very, very fortunate for sure.
You've had a couple of I'll hand this over to you as well. You've had a couple of new releases recently.
Mm.
One of yours, Single Wolves, and then your collaboration with Don Mallon, Overgrown. So give us a bit of a rundown on sort of the introduce each of those, sort of how they came about, especially the collaboration with Don Mallon. I'm interested, sort of
Yeah,
hearing
I
how
mean,
you came
just
together.
to quickly pitch into Wolves, since you've mentioned it, it's a very special one for me because it is, even though it doesn't say it on the cover, probably one of the most collaborative songs I've made, as well. I wrote it for two members of my Twitch community who became friends and were just really, really wonderful, that sadly passed away. And I remember just feeling so angry and writing like 6 angry songs and be like, this is not what I need to say to the world right now.
No.
Because it just felt so, you feel so helpless when you lose someone. And then eventually I wrote Wolves, which feels more, it says what needs to be said, which is, I'm so grateful that you are in my life. And I hope that wherever you are, you're doing, you know, you're Dancing with the Wolves, which Leica was a huge fan of wolves. And I brought in, because they were such a big part of my community, I brought my community together. So they helped fund the recording and producing.
Wow,
I
okay.
had Thomas Levine play drums on it, who, if you haven't checked out, is an incredible indie artist. I have a collab with him, By the Coast, that we released a while back, which is one of my favorite things I've ever sung on.
Okay.
So he played drums. Caldenberg, who is another incredible Twitch streamer and musician from South Africa, he sung that second vocal that comes in at the end,
Okay.
which is one of my favorite parts. Alden, who's also a streamer and guitar player and makes ambient music, played loads of the electric guitar. So the whole community that knew and loved them came together, and Dominic Romano produced it. It's the first song by me that he produced, and he's also producing my next album. So I'm very excited about
Amazing.
that. We're working on that at the moment, and yeah, it's I'm just very, very proud of that song, and it's very meaningful to me for that reason, that it reflects not just on my connection to my music, but also on my connection to the community around me through that music.
That is amazing. You know, it's unfortunately the way it came about, I suppose, but you know, what a way to commemorate and acknowledge that community you got. That's fantastic.
It's
Wow.
very special, and
Yeah.
I got to be in touch with their families throughout, and they also really love the song. So it's just been very, very lovely to make that thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm very, very proud of that one. And yeah, it was followed up by Overgrown with Dom Mallon, and it's not the first song Dom and I write together. We met, is it 2 years ago now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think 2 years ago, at this online conference called The Power of Indie, which was just kind of indie artists from all over the world kind of learning and talking. And Dom wrote me and was like, "Hey, I just listened to your music, very nice." And then I listened to his music and I was like, "Oh my god, this guy is good." So I was like, "Hey, thank you. Your music is very nice too. Let's be friends.
Try to stay aloof.
Stay cool. Don't give away how amazing this song is." It was Eye of the Storm that I heard first, and that's, for me, genuinely one of the best songs ever written. It's mind-blowing. And yeah, we kind of just became friends. Because as an indie artist, I think you don't really have the structure or schedule that other people have with like a day job, where it's like you start at this time, So sometimes it's a bit hard to keep track of what you've done and what you need to do. So we kind of became like working buddies. Once a week we would check in, set goals for each other, and celebrate each other's successes, and just became a beautiful friendship. We started writing some songs together, and there will be more things. I will appear on some of Dom's releases. He will appear on some of mine. We're still writing. We're touring together through Germany and Switzerland in March. So Overgrown was kind of the first song that we wrote together, where this works as a collab, because the others kind of tended a bit more to be a bit more me, a bit more him, and this was like, oh, this will be a good duet. So yeah, we recorded a little demo. Dom did most of the production. I really just did the harmony production, because I love doing harmonies, and we complement each other really well, because he doesn't like doing those. So and he did an incredible job with producing and mixing the track, and we just kind of been sending things back and forth. He was in Tenerife, where we recorded some stuff as well, and we visited earlier this year. So it was just a really fun thing to be able to release the song with who's now one of my best friends, and an artist that I really, really appreciate. And so yeah,
that's brilliant.
That's how Overgrown came to be.
It's just, again, one of those things where, you know, when you're doing this, you're able to kind of, even these small experiences, which you can then turn into something sort of bigger at the end, is fantastic. You know, and I again, from a writing point of view, I know the random places I've taken bits that became quite a major part of some of my stories and whatever. To someone, it's going to be like, how did that get to there? It's like, who knows, you know, but it did. So
it fell into place. I think I used to have these visions of, this is what I want to do. And now I'm more at a point of, okay, universe, where do you want to take me? You know, like, which door opens next? Oh, this door opens? This person wants to make a thing? Let's make a thing. And just, it's been less stressful, and I mean, still sometimes I said yes to way too many things and got close to burning out because it's too fun to make things. But apart from that, it's just been so nice to kind of, you know, I don't really have a where do you see yourself in 10 years from now answer. It's just like things come at me. I meet an incredible producer and I have an album idea and okay, let's do it. You know, this is the moment to do it. And just kind of following the flow of creating and making things and just being open to do different things. Like in England, I got to, a friend of mine, Paul Sanders, wrote a play and he asked me to perform and write music for it. And I got to do that, which, you know, it's outside of the comfort zone, but it's just the door that opened and I was like, oh, okay, looks good. Let's do it.
You know, at some point in all these different avenues that open up, you'll look back at the one moment that had that not happened, that project wouldn't have come about. And it can be the most trivial things, can't it? You know, you got to take those.
Absolutely. I mean, Dom literally writing me that one message at a conference because he took the time to listen to the playlist with all the artists, you know, and now it's like one of my closest friends and we're making music together, we're going on tour together. Like if that one thing hadn't happened, I'm part of the team that organizes secret living room concerts in Cologne, Living Room Concerts Cologne. And the reason that I got into that was simply because I submitted my song to a playlist on Submit Hub, which is like a place you submit music to curators to. And I saw the curator was in Cologne and was a musician and decided to check his music out and was like, oh, I see you're in Cologne, I'm moving to Cologne. You know, just wanted to say your music is really nice. And he was one of the organizers. He invited me to their first open mic and I joined the team. And if I like hadn't checked out his music on Submit Hub, you know, it's these really small things. And it's like, how do you network? How do you make connections? Just do things. You know, do the things you love, be in the spaces that you want to be, and you will find the right people.
Don't try and define the route you're taking because chances are you'll go down a completely different path and that will take you somewhere even more wonderful. So
somewhere you would have never expected.
Exactly. Listen, Luna, this has been amazing to get to talk to you. Sadly, I'm going to start to wrap it up because I know you're very, very busy and I really, really appreciate you coming on to talk to us. But don't go without telling people where they can find you and your music because we've just whet their appetite now. They need to go and find you. So social media, where are you? Where can people find out more?
Where am I? We started with who am I and now it's where am I? We're wrapping it up. Thank you so much for having me. This has been so lovely to chat. You're a great interviewer. Yeah, so you can find my music. I have a website. It's just lunakeller.com. And for those of you that like the stories behind songs, every single song I've released has a page there with an about, with like what the song's about, that I write lyrics and information and credits. So it's a nice little place to spend some time if you want to like, just dive into stories, but it also has all links and all things. And I'm also on social media. It's Luna Keller on Twitch and Patreon. I do go live on Twitch usually Tuesday and Friday evening and play live sets. So if you want to say hi, that's a good place to go. And then on social media like Instagram, Facebook, I'm just Luna Keller Music. And that's a good place to follow as well. I always feel like I forget something.
I think that's definitely a good starting point for everyone.
But that's a good place to find me. And if anyone wants to reach out as well, like my Instagram DMs are open. I'm always happy to share knowledge or connect. So
amazing. Thank you. Listen, Luna, all the best with everything. Congratulations on what you've achieved so far. All the best with everything to come.
Thank you.
I'll be awaiting the new album whenever that is completed and coming out. And
it's going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah, cool. No, not that the others aren't. Obviously, but, we always look forward to the next one. That's a cycle that we get.
It's always like the thing you like the most is the most recent that you do. Is like the stereotype, right?
It is.
I still hold a lot of my older songs like fondly, but I'm very excited about the music that I'm creating right now. So.
Awesome. Well, you've definitely got us all interested. So have a great Christmas as well. Thank
you.
Probably won't get to talk to you again before then, obviously. But is it a big thing? Like, because I was thinking it the other day, and like I was up in a place like Birmingham and a couple of years ago, and they go mad with these German Christmas markets.
Oh yeah, the Birmingham Christmas market is pretty accurate. I was surprised. It was like, am I in Germany? I was there last year. So I've yeah, it's a huge thing. Every city here has big Christmas markets.
Mm.
I've already been to two of them, and it's lovely. You get loads of traditional foods and all those like little local shops and things, and people
Yeah.
that make things, and music, often like live music and stages as well, and Christmas songs and carols, and it's just a lovely place. I really like Christmas. I have a Christmas song as well. By the way, I can shout that out. It's called Christmas Lights by Luna Keller. I'm trying to beat Mariah Carey at some point and make a living from it. So if you have a Christmas playlist, put it in there. But yeah, I love Christmas, and this is the first time I spent all of December in Germany. I'm currently staying with my grandmother for this Christmas time. So I'm very excited to just experience the full German Christmas
Just
like
give yourself some
package.
downtime. Awesome. Well, have an amazing time, and I look forward to hopefully speaking to you again.
You too. Thanks so much for having me. This has been lovely.
Anytime. See you again. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Also follow us on Facebook and Instagram to keep updated about all future shows.